I'm assuming that the evening is starting at 7:45.
And they're schmaltzing it up and they're
And I would
saying
add
how,
certain things. I'm not sure if they're going to say Hallel tomorrow. I
What?
don't, I have to check. What?
15 minutes before Mincha, you'll have time.
Tonight, right, 15 minutes before Mincha. So that would be 7:15 for Mincha Yomi, right? Okay, learning sponsors Isaac and Evelyn Blach in memory of his sister Chaya Rachel Bas Isser, friends of Leoni Meiserman, Leah Sabra Bas Chanuk Zundel, friends of Malaskotsky, Moshe Zelig ben Mordechai, Martin Lippman and family in memory of his wife Malka Chana Bas Pinchas, friends of Herb Jeremiah, Tzvi ben Zev, friends of Sam Coleman, Shmuel ben Yaakov, friends of Gideon Lazinski, Mordechai Shlomo ben Meir, Bella and David Adler in memory of her father, Eliyahu ben Yosef Kohen, as well as those who were inspired by our Rebbitzin Emerita, Sheila Shapiro, Sarah Esther Malka Bas Meshulam Yisachar. The month of learning by the friends and students of Rabbi Shalom Kornblum, Rav Shalom ben Mordechai, Susan and Ronald Podolsky, in memory of her mother, Simcha Bunam ben Yeshua. I'm sorry, her father, Simcha ben Yeshua. Michael and Judith Poretsky, in memory of his mother, Rachel Bas Avram. Susan and Ronald Podolsky, once again, in memory of her mother, Chaya Bas Avram Dov. B. Pizer, in memory of her father, Yischadov ben Shmuel. Judith and Michael Poretsky, in memory of her mother, Rezel Bas Yehuda Leib. Stanley Presser, in memory of his wife, Chaya Leah Bas Zev Kohen. Malki and Rabbi Dr. Yanki Honig, in memory of her aunt, Emma Ethel Bat Shimon. A week of learning by Eliana Goldwasser, in memory of her husband, Eliyahu ben Mordechai, Yossi and Sippy Peleg, in memory of his mother, Shprinza Bat Akiva. We do not have any individual days of learning.
Chai.
What?
Today is my Chai.
No individual days of learning today. May the Shemas have an aliyah, cranker, a field, out the Yeshua, Shema Tzliel, Chol B'nai Israel, good Gebenshtian. Okay, I wanted to start as Ruvain and I were walking to Shul this morning. We talked about yesterday's Siyum and the start of the Gemara. And I told him I wanted to just take a couple minutes before we start today's Gemara, since it's not a long, the daf is not long, aside from the nice introduction that Michael gave yesterday at the Siyum, just to look over again the text of the Chumash and to just raise a couple of questions as a different kind of introduction to starting our Gemara for Gittin. Okay? Psukim, only 4 psukim. Okay? Ki kach ish isha uva'alah. Okay? So it's the man who takes the woman, like the farmer in the dell. Okay? You know the farmer in the dell, the farmer takes a wife. You don't know that song? Okay. All right. V'haya im lo timtzachen be'einav ki matzah ba'ervat davar. Okay, are we going to have a contradiction between im lo timtzachen, okay, where you say she doesn't find favor, versus ki matzah ba'ervat davar? So is that opposite kind of statements, right? V'katav la sefer kritut. What does it mean, a sefer kritut? A text, a document of severance or separation. V'natan biyada, and he gives it in her hand. Okay, so the Gemara is ultimately going to have to talk about, what does it mean in her hand? Does it really have to be in her hand like that? Okay, does it have to be in her rishus, the Daled Amos, things like that? Okay, I'm just raising questions to help us understand where the Gemara is going to be headed. Vishalchami ba'etah. V'yatzami beitov v'halcha hayta le'ish acher. Should go to an amir, right? And what happens? Usne'ah ha'ish ha'acharon. And the second husband doesn't like her either. V'katav la sefer kritut. And he also writes her a book of severance. V'natan biyada v'shalchami beitov. Sent there. Oh, ki yamut ha'ish ha'acharon. Or if he dies, asher lakecha lo leisha. Lo yuchal ba'alah harishon, the first husband, asher shalcha, that he sent her away, lashuv lekachta liot lo leisha. Acharei asher hadutma'a ki to'evahi lefnei Hashem, etc. Okay? So basically raising a couple of questions. Number one, for example, who writes it? What's written? Okay? When the Torah says, okay, that ki ikach isha u'ba'ala v'haya lo timsachin beinav, etc., ki matzah be'ervat, ki matzah ba ervat davar. Does the word ba then give us the whole basis of saying that the get has to be written lishma, to her specific, that specific woman? So all I want us to, thank you, Michael. Okay, all I want us to understand is that because of the lack of detail in the Torah, okay, we see that there are clearly a number of issues that Chazal is going to have to deal with, okay, in terms of that. So if that's the case, why is it that when the Gemara starts our first Mishnah, it doesn't deal with some of those issues? Okay, why doesn't it deal with the Chachim? It will get there, but why doesn't it deal with initially the fact that what has to be written, and that it has to be written specifically for her? Okay, what's the language? How is it to be written? Who writes it? All of these things are not the beginning of the Gemara.
No
Okay.
Gemara starts.
Okay, the point being, and now to come back to what Rashi suggests initially, okay, all our document in the Torah says was Sefer Kritut. Okay, what do we mean by that? How come it gets the name get? Okay, how
Did you
come?
see the gra on that? That's cool.
Yes.
A gimel and a tough and a test are never next to each other in a
Right,
word.
same way a husband and wife are
Have
separated,
to be different.
right? Okay, all right, but that's a nice drush. That's not a halacha. Okay.
Mel has a reason because it says get out.
I'm agreed. It says lo simsa babi enough, because he doesn't have to like it. Then it says also key whatever.
Ervat davar, right.
They have to find an ervat.
All right, so all of those are valid questions. Okay,
No,
okay, the Gemara is going to have to deal with all of those issues. Okay,
that's correct. It has to have some reason.
okay, all right. So the point, therefore, is since we don't start about okay, what is the get? Is a get, and how is it different from any other document? After all, we have other kinds of documents besides a ksuba. You've got shtar mechira, okay? Those there too, you've got to have witnesses on. All these other varieties of documents. Okay, so there are any number of issues that the Gemara is going to have to go into to clarify the whole rubric, I'm going to say, and expand what the Torah presents. Okay. Yeah.
You look at this first list and getting, like you brought it up, is actually dealing with the end of the process of it. It's already.
It's written already.
It's a fait accompli.
Well, not yet. She didn't get it.
She didn't receive it
So
yet.
what he wants to say really is that the Chachamim disdain getting so much, they call it chulin, and they say, let's just get it over and done with it.
Get it over and done with. That's not a punt. Right?
It's nothing to make fun about. It's nothing, it's just terrible thing. It came upon a family.
Yeah. As
It says
a
if the pasuk said if you divorce your first wife, even the Aron cries.
right. Okay.
The
Right. But and as a Masader Gittin, I'm sure he's familiar. I wasn't familiar with him. I was anybody from northern Jersey knows Rabbi Jactor. Okay. And he's a Masader Gittin. He was the one I was familiar with in some cases. And also from
Well, if you were in St. Louis, you know Greenblatt.
no, we didn't use him.
No?
Okay. So that was the case, and also from New Jersey with Rabbi Tights, the younger Rabbi Tights particularly. Okay, so let's go into our now that we understand that there are going to be many questions about the text and the format and the context, etc., etc. Okay, thank you, Marty, for bringing that up. Okay, so now we're ready to go into the Mishnah and into the Gemara itself. Okay, and I will point out that if Koren has a map that goes along with this Mishnah to be able to clarify the issue of the locations. Okay, however, we will make a reference or two to Hamevi get mi b'dinas hayam, one who is bringing a get document from across the sea, right, from another country. Tzrich sheyomar b'fanai nichtav u'b'fanai nechtam. He must say to the Beis Din when he's presenting this document, before me it was written, before me it was signed. Okay, why? We're going to see in a few minutes. Rabban Gamliel Omer, says Rabban Gamliel, it's not simply if he brings the get from across the sea, right? Af hamevi min harekem umin hahagar. If he also brings from two different locations that are border towns, okay? Rekem is considered to be like Bar Kadesh Barnea, and Hagar is a border town in the south. Okay, Rabbi Eliezer Omer, he says as follows: Afilu mikfar ludim lelud, even if he's bringing a get document from the town of Ludim to the larger town of Lud. These two communities were fairly close to each other. They had major commercial relations, major marital relations. However, it's a good possibility that given the geographic structure of Eretz Yisrael at the time, that Ludim was actually in the area that was primarily inhabited by Samaritans. Okay, and so there was another question there of that even though they were geographically proximate, nevertheless, there were, in a sense, different environmental and other things there. V'chachamim omrim, however, the sages say, Eino tzarich, it's not necessary, sheyomar b'fanai nechtav, b'fanai nechtam. Okay,
From that last
in
text.
that particular case,
Right.
okay, since they were aware of the fact that there was this both commercial and marital goings on between these two communities.
That was last
Well,
goings on.
this is marry families from one would marry
I know,
families for
I
the
see.
other, okay? And so therefore people would know who's who in each community. Okay, that's very important. Okay, all right, let's go on. Ela hamevi medinas hayam, the one who brings it from across the sea, vehamolich, and brings the get there.
Or
Okay,
goes.
okay,
to
okay,
bring
or
the get from
well,
Eretz Yisrael
molich
to-
is a few different explanations. Molich could be bringing a get from Eretz. That's one shot from Eretz Yisrael to Chutz La'aretz, to outside the land, or who brings it from any other area into Eretz Yisrael. Okay, Vahamevi medina lemedina, and one who brings it from one province. I'm going to translate it to another province. Okay, wait a second. Bimedinat hayam, in a foreign country. Okay, so in other words, bringing it from Spain to, let's say, to Rome.
No, from
Okay, I want to bring those particularly because there were major Jewish communities in both those places. Okay,
No,
right.
it's saying even within Italy, bringing it
Oh,
from
we didn't
Milan,
get
that's
there
what
yet.
it's-
We didn't get there yet. That's the next part. Okay, Tzrich, all right, Tzrich sheyomar b'fanai nechtav u'b'fanai nechtam. Must say, before me it was written, before me it was signed. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, Omer. Now Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel asks, Afilu mehegmonia lehegmonia, even from what I'm going to call one district or governorship or jurisdiction to another. Okay, that's where you get from within the same country to another.
City.
No,
Okay, from another to another. Okay, okay. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, says Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, mirekem lemizrach. Okay, since it was a border town. Okay, from there east, v'rekem kemizrach, and Rekem as a border town was considered like the east. Okay, outside the boundary of Eretz Yisrael. Okay, mi Ashkelon ledarom, from Ashkelon, which is on the coast. Remember, the Darom, and there south, va'ashkelon kidarom, and Ashkelon was considered south. Okay, okay. Me Akko litzafon, okay, from Akko to the north. Again, remember we're talking about primarily the area identified as Yehuda, Galil. Okay, those were clearly Jewish areas, right? That was known. Rabbi Meir Omer, Rabbi Meir says, disagreeing with the last statement, Akko ke'eretz Yisrael. He felt that Akko was included in the boundaries of Eretz Yisrael, the Gittin. Okay? Now, the Mishnah goes on. Hemevi get be'eretz Yisrael. One who brings the get document within what's considered the boundary of Eretz Yisrael. Eino tzorich shiomar. It's not necessary for that messenger to say, B'fanai nichtav u'b'fanai nichtav. Before me it was written, before me it was signed. Okay, now the Gemara continues, Mishnah continues. V'im yesh alav ororim, and there are a number of pshatim for what ororim refer to. One could be the husband himself. One could be others who are challenging the get, okay, or challenging the signatures on the get. Yitkayem bechotamav. Okay, the signatures.
Challenging the signatures is challenging the get.
It's challenging. Well, there's more to it than that. We'll get to it eventually. Okay, but the point is they must verify the signatures. Michael explained yesterday that could be done in a number of ways. You could have another document that has the signature of the same person and compare the documents, okay, the signatures in the documents. It could be that you bring the individual into the Beis Din and have them testify about the signature. That's another. So there are multiple methodologies there, okay? Okay, we go on now to the Mishnah. My Tama. Okay, and the Gemara asks the first question. What's the reasoning? Okay, Rava Amar, as we go, okay, on.
What's the reason he has to testify?
Okay, wait a second. What is the reason that he must specifically say, B'fanai nechtav u'b'fanai nechtam? Okay, after all, he's only one individual. Okay, are we going to say that we accept the edus of a single individual? Okay, when normally we only accept two. Okay, so what happens? Lefi she'ein biki'in lishma. Why? Because the first explanation is that foreign scribes are not going to be erudite enough in terms of being sure that they're writing the get document specifically for that particular woman. That's the first explanation. Okay, that is what Rabbah is saying. Now, Rava is going to give a different explanation. Rava says as follows: Lafisha ein edim mitzuyim l'kaimo. Okay, because witnesses are not there to be able to ratify the signature.
Because it came from far away.
Okay, all right. In other words, if it was a get written in across the sea, okay, they're not available, right? And we said that was one of the means to verify the signature. Okay, my benayu. What's the difference in their two different explanations or reasons? Ika beinayu, there is the following between them. The adyuhu be tre. Okay, so that we're saying that it's brought, that the get document is being brought by two people. Okay, right. That's one issue. Inami. In other words, there could be two messengers that are coming to bring the get. Okay, instead of one person coming before the beis din, okay, there are two individuals who say together. The two of them are coming together.
So you have two aides.
So then you'd have two eidim, even if they weren't, okay, the signatory. Okay, so what happens? That's one option. So that option would clarify the question of witness, okay, which we said was, okay, the Rava's reason, right?
Rava
Inami,
still requires them.
okay, right,
No,
right. So
Rava
we'll get
would
to that.
still require
Okay.
them to.
Inami, or also another reason, Medina Medina be'eretz Yisrael. Or what about the fact that we say from one country or one location to another, okay, in Eretz Yisrael, one province to another. In other words, Rava, the question of is one thing. Rava, the witnesses, okay, question of available. So there is this issue. Okay? Inami, or perhaps, says the Gemara, Ba'ota Medina, B'Medinat Hayam, or as we said, in the same, okay, location, okay, in a distant location. Rabba, okay, and Rabba, what does he say? Da Amar Lafisha Ein Biki'in Lishma, because his argument was that the foreign sofrim, the foreign scribes, are not necessarily always capable in writing the document for the purpose of that same woman. Lebaye train. Let us say then that we're required to.
They would have to
Okay,
testify.
right, that they would
Because
testify,
Rava
two
let them-
witnesses.
didn't require them
Right.
to testify. when they
Mide,
went
right?
to-
So what happens? Mide dehava akol eduyot shebetorah. And then if we require two witnesses and not just the messenger saying before me it was written and signed, then it would be similar to any other kind of document that the Torah requires us to have. Okay. So what happens? Ed ne'echad ne'aman be'isurim. But we do have a principle that says one witness is trustworthy in regards to certain prohibitions. Amor, I might therefore be saying, da'amrinan ed echad ne'aman be'isurim, that when we say that one witness is valid, okay, in regards to certain prohibitions, kegon chaticha, for example, in the case of a piece of fat, all right, safek shel chaylev, we don't know for sure if this is prohibited fat. Safek shel shuman, we don't know if it's acceptable fat. Delo itchazik isura, where there, okay, there is not a
There's no chazaka yet.
strong precedent, I'm going to use that word, of a prohibition. Aval hacha, but in our case regarding marriage, okay, the itchazik isura de eshet ish, where we have a strong precedent regarding a prohibition, okay, regarding marriage, right, in this case, okay, because clearly she's a married woman, have devar shebe'erva, we would have a situation where there is a clear isur, okay, clear provision. Ve'ein davar shebe'erva pachot mishnayim, and here we present the fact that in those kind of cases, we must have a two witness situation.
To refer back, you needed two witnesses to this, to them secluding themselves, because that's a davar shebe'erva. One witness was not adequate there.
Right, you're right. But that's regards to the Chopper and Kedusha. Okay. Rove, okay, so what happens? The Gemara is going to challenge, really,
Rava.
okay, the statement, the rationale that Rava was giving, because it says, Rove Biki'in Hain, that those Sofrim who write a get are
Do know what they're
experts. Okay? Right? Va'afilu Rabbi Meir. And even according to Rabbi Meir, the Chayesh Lemiuta, who Rabbi Meir, who always has his concern for the minority. In other words, maybe there are a few Sofrim that aren't so baki, that aren't so expert, right? Stam Sofrei de Dayane Migmar Gemire, that a sofer that works under the authority of a beis din,
He knows what
okay,
he's doing.
no, has learned and is aware of how to do it properly. Lishma. Okay. V'Rabbanan hu de'itzruch. And it was the rabbis who required this. Vahacha, and we'll just roll over the top. Mishum iguna akilu ba Rabbanan. Okay, that the rabbis were concerned that the woman would wind up in a situation of becoming a guna, an anchored wife to the situation, okay, and therefore would not be would be in a limbo status. Okay, and we'll
So
pick
they
it.
allowed one witness.
Okay, so that's okay. So the Gemara is going to ask, "Hai kulahu?" Okay, chumrahu, and we'll go into that tomorrow. Right? Okay.
I'll do it tomorrow.
All right. Okay. Okay.